Welcome to GMAT sentence correction. My name is Preetinder Kaur, and in this video I'm going to discuss the errors related to agreement in a sentence. Now, as you might be knowing, in the GMAT, 1/3 of the questions that you will get will belong to this topic, sentence correction. You will have a sentence in which part of it would be underlined, and there will be 5 options given in front of you. You have to choose the option that best corrects the sentence without any grammatical mistake. So let us go ahead and study the different types of agreement errors. Now these are basically of 2 types, noun-verb agreement and pronoun agreement. Let's have a look at both of them. In the noun-verb agreement, you have errors that do not match the number of the verb with the number of the noun or the subject. So these errors are also commonly known as subject-verb agreement. For example, have a look at the sentence number 1. I goes to office is wrong because we do not use goes with I, we use go. I go to office. The second sentence is also wrong. She go to office. Now with she we have to use goes. My brother have some work. This is wrong. It should be my brother has some work. Now this is just a brief statement of what noun-verb agreement is. We will be discussing the errors one by one in the next slide. Now in the pronoun agreement, we have to make the pronoun agree with the antecedent. So if this is the pronoun, the noun or the pronoun that it is replacing is called the antecedent. When one sleeps, he dreams. It should be either when one sleeps, one dreams, or when he sleeps, he dreams. Similarly, in the second sentence, he must do one's duty daily. Now this is wrong. It should either be he must do his duty daily or one must do one's duty daily. So the pronoun should be maintained. We cannot fluctuate between one and he. If you start with one, you have to carry on with one. Similarly, if you start with you, you have to carry on with you or your. And if you start with he or she, you have to carry on with him or her. So let's go ahead and discuss these errors one by one. First of all, rule number 1, singular nouns take singular verbs and plural nouns take plural verbs. So I've made a table for you in which on the left side you can see the different nouns and pronouns that you can have. Whenever we have to use the noun or pronoun related to ourselves, that is I, we use am in the present tense and was in the past tense. These are the simple tenses. For example, I am eating, I was eating. In the present we use have, I have been eating, and in the past we use had, I had been eating. Now for you can be plural or singular, so to avoid any confusion we always treat it as plural. That is why we use are and were for the present and past tenses respectively. For example, you are eating and you were eating. Now in the present perfect tense we will use have, you have been eating, and in the past perfect tense we will use had, you had been eating. Now coming to the singular noun, it could be any person's name, any company's name, any organization, any object, any material, anything. If it's singular, we use is and was in the simple tenses. For example, she is eating, she was eating. And in the perfect tenses, we use has and had. She has been eating and she had been eating. Now coming to the plural, for example, they and them. So we will be using are and were just like we used for you. It will be they are eating, they were eating, and in the perfect tenses we will be using have and had, again just like we use them in you. So they have been eating and they had been eating. Now having a look at these simple tenses, with I we do not put s because I is supposed to be a singular noun. It will take a singular verb. I sleep. With you, we do not use s, it will be you sleep. But with singular, we use sleeps. She sleeps, he sleeps. The dog sleeps, the child sleeps. For plural also we do not have to add any s, so plural sleep, they sleep. So you can remember like this, that there will just be one plural. Either plural would be here in I, you, and here in plural, or it will be in the verb. For example, for singular, you can't say she sleep or they sleeps. So these both would be wrong. Let's go ahead and discuss the next point. There is one exception to the rule, however, that is for hypothetical situations only, where we can use were instead of this one. We can use if I were a president, and then so on and so forth. The sentence will continue just for hypothetical situations which have not taken place, but which could have taken place, but again they have not taken place. So we can use were for I and for singular nouns as well. Let me give you an example. If I were the president, I would. Another example, if I were on the moon, I would do this. Now this is hypothetical. I'm not on the moon and I was not on the moon, but if I were on the moon, I would do something. Here is another example. If I were a genius, I would. So in these cases you can use were, but in all the other cases you cannot use were with singular and with I. Okay, so this was the first point. Let's move ahead to the second point. Subject and the verb, they may be separated by an accompanying phrase without changing the agreement. So there may be a lot of words between your subject and the verb. It may not be as simple as my friend studies. There may be a lot of words between my friend and the verb studies. Now this will be done in order to confuse you, so that you're not able to find out and identify the correct relationship between the subject and the verb. Let's have a look at the examples. The sentence is given: the child, comma, together with his grandparents, comma, is going to the zoo. Now as the sentence is a bit longer, there may be a confusion that you may connect is going with the grandparents. However, this is wrong. Is going is being used for the child. And you can see there is a lot of gap between the subject, that is the child, and the verb, which is going. So you need to identify the subject and the verb correctly before you establish the relationship. So this is correct. The child is going to the zoo. No matter how many words we add between these two commas, this is going to remain the same. The child is going to the zoo. Now next sentence, Eric, along with his colleagues, watches soccer league. Now watches is the verb, which is not being used for colleagues but is being used for Eric, which is a singular noun. So Eric watches soccer league. Again, no matter how many words you put in between Eric and watches, the relationship is going to remain the same. Eric watches soccer league. Let's have a look at the third example. Maria, as well as her roommates, is going out for a movie. Again, this is correct. Is going is being used for Maria, not for roommates. So Maria is going out for a movie. So what is the strategy that you need to focus upon? In order to clarify which noun is the subject and which verb it should agree with, cross out everything inside the commas, like Frank, accompanied by his students, was at the theater. To help yourself, you can just cross out this portion, that is accompanied by his students. Similarly, if we have a look at these sentences, you can cross out this: the child is going to the zoo. Similarly, Eric watches soccer league. Maria is going out for a movie. So if you cross out these extra words that are given in to confuse you, you can easily identify which noun is the subject and with which verb it should agree with. Let us go ahead and discuss another point. Inserting a number of nouns or plural nouns before the verb does not change the agreement. Now this is just an extension of what we have just done. Let's have a look at the first sentence. His mastery of several sports like hockey, badminton, and golf makes him a sought after sports trainer. Now if you see, there are a number of sports here. First is hockey, second is badminton, and third is golf. So that makes it plural. However, over here, makes is not being used for the sports, it is being used for mastery. Now, mastery is one single noun. It is an abstract noun. So we have to make this verb makes agree with the noun mastery. So his mastery makes him a sought after sports trainer. Again, using that previous strategy, we can go ahead and cross out all the extra information that is given just to confuse us and which is not helping us in any way. Let's go ahead and have a look at the second example. Her attitude of carelessness and blaming others for her own problems is not going to be good for her. Now, to confuse you, they have linked problems with is not, and you may have a problem with problems is not going. However, is not going is not being used for problems. It is not being used for problems, it is being used for attitude. So, is not going is going correctly with attitude. Her attitude is not going to be good for her. So there are no commas over here. However, you can cancel out these extra words that are confusing the sentence and making it difficult to understand. So her attitude is not going to be good for her. Let's have a look at the next sentence. So this is what we have just done. We have cancelled out whatever extra words were there and we have correctly identified that attitude is the main noun that we are looking for and is not going is the verb. So her attitude is not going to be good for her. Now, next point is that collective nouns are singular when they act in a collective fashion or represent one group. Now, to remind you, what are collective nouns? Just like a herd of elephants, a pack of wolves, a school of fish, a group of children, a team of players, all these are collective nouns. And although they consist of more than one noun in a group, however, they are taken to be as a singular entity when they are indulging in one single representative action. Let's have a look at the following examples. A majority of the shareholders wants extra benefits. Now, definitely shareholders is plural, but we are using wants with majority. Majority is always taken to be as singular. If you remember, we always say statements like majority has won this time or the majority wins. So we will be using wants with majority because although majority comprises of more than one shareholder, however, majority itself is a singular noun. So collective noun, and it's singular because it's acting in a collective fashion and it's representing one group, that is the group of shareholders. So a majority of the shareholders wants extra benefits. A flock of birds is flying south. Again, we're using is because we're talking about the flock, which is just a single flock, and that's why we're using a in front of it. A flock of birds is flying south. Do not consider birds to be the correct noun or the correct verb. Flock is the correct subject. And the next, the team has won the challenge. Now again, team is our main subject and we're using has, although the team may consist of more than one member. Exception: when the members of the group are doing different things or different actions. Let's go through those examples as well. Now the team are fighting amongst themselves. Now it's mentioned that different actions are taking place. The team are fighting amongst themselves. Now in this case, team will be considered as plural and that's why we'll be using are over here. In this case, the team had collectively done something, that is won the challenge, so it was taken to be singular. But over here, the team members are doing something different. They are fighting amongst themselves, so that is why we are taking the team to be plural. Here is another point. You need to recognize the collective noun, which is team, flock, majority. Visualize what is going on in the sentence and then proceed so that you do not confuse yourself. Let's move to the next point. Phrases separated by and are plural because of course and joins two different things. A and B are doing something, so and is for joining. But phrases separated by or nor are singular because we have to choose just one of them in case of or, so that makes it singular, and in case of nor there is nothing, so that is also singular. For example, Ted, Janet and I are going. Now why are we using I? Why are we using are? Because we are using it for Ted, we're using it for Janet, and we're using it for I. So there are 3 people in all, so the 3 people are going. Ted, Janet and I are going. Now when the following words are the subject of the sentence, they always take a singular verb. Let's have a look at what these words are. Either. Now this is a very important point which often comes in exams. Either is always followed by a singular verb. Either of my friends is, or it also can be either of my friends was. Okay. So it will be is or was, not are or were, because either means just one. And similarly in case of neither, neither means none. So none of my friends is going. Again you can use it with was as well. Okay, and so neither of my friends is going, or neither of my friends was going. And in the third sentence we can see each of the teachers is. So with each, again we are using is because it is singular, and we can also use was. Each of the teachers was, or each of the teachers is. Again for none of the pupils is, or none of the pupils was. So these are all singular, either, neither, each, none. And similarly words like each, every, some, any, or whenever these words are used, we always take them to be singular, like anytime, any place, something, someone, all these are singular. Now if 2 subjects are separated by or nor, the verb agrees with the subject that is closer to the verb. This is the case the 2 subjects are different. One is singular, one is plural, so you may get confused, and that is why this point comes up. Neither the supervisor nor the staff members were able to. Now why are we using the verb were over here? Because we are considering this subject. There are 2 subjects, one is supervisor and one is staff members. Now staff members is the subject that is closer to the verb, so that is why the verb will agree with staff members. Neither the children nor their teacher was. Again, this is your first subject and this is your second subject. We will take this verb according to the second subject, which is closer to the verb. Now choose the right subject in a sentence where the verb precedes the subject. Right, so I'll give you an example to illustrate this point. The cat ate my toast. The right subject is not toast, it is cat. Right, so the verb is preceding few of the subjects. Now this is the verb, and this is also another subject, and this is also one subject, but you have to choose the right subject. Understand that the action is being done by the cat. The toast is not doing anything, so the main subject is not toast, it is cat. Toast is just the object. Right, so ate should go with cat. So cat is the subject, ate is the verb, toast is the object. There are many reasons why I can't help him. Now you have so many nouns and pronouns here. I, you have him, you have reasons. So over here we will consider are, because we are going to use it for reasons. There are many reasons, so that's why we are considering reasons to be the correct subject, not I and not him. Right, so there are many reasons why I can't help him. Now here are a few sample sentences. Now first, since the first successful organ transplant was performed in the United States in 1954, a serious problem faced by transplant recipients have been the possibilities that its own body will try to reject or destroy the transplant. Now let's read the sentence again, group by group. Since the first successful organ transplant was performed. Now was is correct because it's being used for this transplant over here, which is singular. So this is correct, no problem over here. Was performed in the United States in the 1954. A serious problem. Now have a look at over here, a serious problem. Now this is singular because it's just one problem, a serious problem faced by the recipients. Has been, it should be has, not have. So definitely this is the error over here. A serious problem faced by transplant recipients has been the possibilities that its own body will try to reject or destroy the transplant. So have a look at what the sentence is saying. So yes, transplant was is correct. A serious problem should be followed by has, not have. So have is absolutely wrong. Let's have a look at another sentence. The giraffes that lives on the savannah in East Africa not only have different coat patterns which protect them from predators by acting as camouflage, but also use those patterns to identify suitable mates. Now, a striking error that you can see over here is giraffe, which is definitely a plural, more than one giraffe, and that we are using with a plural verb, which is live. So this is wrong. It should be live. The giraffes that live on the savannah not only have, so have is also correct, different coat patterns which protect them. Now we are using everything in plural, from predators by acting as camouflage, but also use those patterns. Now those is being used for patterns, so this is also correct, to identify suitable mates. So the problem was here in lives. Let's have a look at the solution. And yes, the problem is in lives. The giraffes that live on the savannah in East Africa not only have different coat patterns which protect them from predators by acting as camouflage, but also use those patterns to identify suitable mates. And next sample sentence. The associate who brings cookies to work every day for his co-workers have been promised first choice of projects by the managing director. Now there is one associate who brings cookies to work. Now brings is correct. We are using brings with associate, which is singular, so this is correct. Brings cookies to work every day for his. Now his is also the correct pronoun because this is just one associate. Have been promised. Now this is the problem. There should be has been promised, not have been. Have is used for plural or for I or for you, not for singular nouns like associate. So associate has been promised. So let's have a look at the solution. So yes, this is the correct solution. The associate who brings cookies, sorry, this is correct, who brings cookies to work every day for his co-workers has been promised. So the error will be here. Has been promised first choice of projects by the managing director. And next point, ambiguities in pronoun agreement lead to errors. Now we are talking about agreement in pronouns. Ambiguity means something that is very unclear, very equivocal, ambiguous, vague. That means you cannot decide left or right. You are confused and stuck in the middle. You do not know which way to go. So let's have a look at the types of errors that can arise due to ambiguities. Errors due to same gender. For example, Maria and Susan run a cooking show in which Shri primarily does the cooking and she does the narration. Now, you don't know that this she refers to whom, Maria or Susan. And similarly, you do not know this she refers to whom, Maria or Susan. So this is the problem in ambiguous pronouns. This is pronoun which is ambiguous because it can refer to either Maria or Susan. Similarly, this pronoun. So these are the errors over here. You can correct it like this. Maria and Susan run a cooking show in which Maria, so you've named this, so this is correct, primarily does the cooking and Susan does the narration. So this is also correct. This problem may not arise when the two subjects have different gender. In that case, you can use he and she or her and his. For example, Maria and Albert run a cooking show in which Shri primarily does the cooking and he does the narration. Now definitely she is referring to Maria and Albert is being referred to by he. So here there is no problem of ambiguous pronouns, but over here there is certainly a problem. Now antecedent must agree with the pronoun being used. This I discussed in the first slide as well. The antecedent is the noun which is being replaced by the pronoun, or the first pronoun that was in the sentence and the second pronoun It must agree with the first pronoun or the antecedent, whatever antecedes or precedes the pronoun. Let's have a look at this example. Even though the team had practiced very hard, they lost the game by a huge margin. Now the problem is over here, team, as I told you, is a singular noun, and they're using they, which is absolutely wrong. It should be it, because it is the correct replacement for team, which is singular. Even though the team had practiced very hard, they lost the game by a huge margin, right? So for non-living things, for groups, for animals, we prefer to use it, and for males and females, we use he and she. What is the approach to be followed? You need to understand the meaning of the sentence. Now here you need to consider whether the team is doing something on a collective or group basis, or doing something separately. You know, all the members doing different things. Then another approach that you can follow is divide the sentence into individual clauses, like the team had practiced very hard, they lost the game by a huge margin. It should be it lost the game by a huge margin. Then identify the pronouns and determine the possible antecedents. Now you have identified that this is the pronoun, and now determine the possible antecedent, which is team. So here you can check that team is not being substituted correctly by they. It should be it in place of they. Determine if there is any ambiguity in the use of pronoun, because this is a very common error. Ensure that pronoun and antecedent agree in number. And be cognizant or be aware of the nouns that are always singular. Let's have a look at the sample sentences. The car hit the tree so badly that it was severely damaged. Now this is wrong. It can refer to the tree as well as the car. So both of them can be badly damaged. It should specify something more, so that the tree was severely damaged, or so that the car was severely damaged. Similarly, in the second sentence, when the critics saw the new movie on Edward and Stella, they were in awe of the special effects. Now they can refer to either Edward or Stella, or it can also refer to critics. So there is a problem again. We do not know they is referring to Edward and Stella, or they is referring to critics. So this is the problem. I spoke to someone at the reception and asked what warranty conditions the company allows. They told me the information cannot be disclosed. Now who is they? They is very ambiguous. We do not know they is being referred to what, because we have company over here, reception, and someone. So all these are singular nouns. They is definitely not the correct replacement. And here is another sample question. Anyone wishing to enroll in the course should send in their applications before the 15th of the month. To give you a hint, the problem over here is the difference between the pronoun and the antecedent. So let's have a look at the 5 options. Anyone wishing to enroll in their course should send in their application. So definitely there is wrong. It's not agreeing with anyone, right? Anyone wishing to enroll should send in their application. So if you see, there are 2 options with their, in fact 3 options, so all these are wrong. So you can cancel out A, C and E. You're left with B. Send their applications in, but over here also you're using their, so this is also wrong. The correct answer is E. Send in his application. So words that begin with any, each, every, no and some, they're always singular subjects. Here is another example. Unless they reverse present policies immediately, the world may suffer permanent damage from the unregulated use of pesticides. Now have a look at options A, B, C, D and E. Unless they reverse, again the problem is in this pronoun they. This should not be there, because they is not referring to anything plural. The only thing plural is pesticides, and pesticides cannot reverse the present policies, so they is definitely wrong. You can easily cancel out this option. the world may suffer permanent damage from the unregulated use. So we have to talk about the world reversing present policies. So unless they reverse present policies is wrong. Unless present policies are reversed, this may be an option, so we'll just highlight it for now. Unless present policies will be reversed, so we do not use the future tense with unless. We don't say unless you study hard, or we say unless you study hard you will not fail. We never say unless you will study hard you will not fail. So unless present policies will be reversed is also wrong. And there is another rule: in a single sentence you do not use two words detecting the future, so you cannot use will and then may in the same sentence. D option, if it will not reverse policies. Now it is wrong, right? But it is a singular noun. Let's keep this highlighted. If present policies will not be reversed, so even this is not correct. Will and may, it is the same mistake. So let's have a look at what the answer is. Answer is B. It uses ambiguous pronoun, that is in A, that is they. C, D and E are using the future tense. So will and will. Will cannot be used with may, so the answer is going to be B. Alright, now either you transfer the data that is demanded or file a report explaining why you did not submit the overall annual figures. Right, so let's go ahead and check the options. Either you transfer the data that was demanded or file a report explaining why you did not submit the annual figures. So let's have a look. As I told you, with either, the other pair word is or, so you can cancel out the options that do not contain either, but there is no such option, so all these options are correct with that point of view. So let's have a look at the answer. Answer is C. It begins with you, correctly uses were, places either closer to or. So use of were is correct, and it places either close to or. And data is a plural noun for singular datum. So data cannot be was, it will always be were. So A, B and D are wrong because it's using data with was. It should be data that were demanded or which were demanded. So it will be C. You either transfer the data that were demanded or file a report explaining why you did not submit the figures. So let's move to the next sample question. The set of propositions which was discussed by the panel have been published in the monthly journal. So these are your options. Now the set of propositions which was discussed. Was is correct. We are not using was for propositions but for set. The main subject is set, and this is a collective noun. The set was discussed by the panel and the set has been published. So all options with have are wrong. So the set of propositions which was discussed is also correct. Were is again wrong because we have to use was over here. So A is wrong, B is wrong and D is wrong. Now you have to choose between C and D. Let's have a look at what the answer is. Answer is C. It uses the singular verbs was and has with singular noun set. If you look at the statement E, the set of propositions which was discussed by the panel has been discussed. Now we do not need to add these commas over here. There is no pause. Which was discussed by the panel is compulsory. You cannot put the commas here because most often if you're putting two commas you can skip this portion which is between the two commas, but in this case you cannot, so the commas are not correct. And this is the next question. After careful evaluation, we decided that we neither have the authority nor the means to cope with the problem. So with neither we use nor, not or. So these options are wrong, that is B and D. We do not have the authority and we do not have the means, so it should be we have neither the authority nor the means. The correct answer should be C. Neither A nor B. It refers to authority and means, so we must precede them directly. We have is, you can take it to be common, neither the authority nor the means. So we don't have this to cope with the problem. Next sample question. Every one of us have understood that without him helping us, we would not have succeeded. Now everyone, I told you before, with every, each, some, any, all these words, you have to use a singular verb. So this is the problem over here. It should not be have, it should be has. Let's see which of the options includes has. Now this one and this one. So A is wrong and C is wrong. Every one of us has understood that without his helping us. Now there is no problem over here. Every one of us has understood that without him helping us. Now this is wrong. We'll do this in another video, that when we use verbs with ing, that is the gerund form, we use the possessive case of the pronoun. We do not say him helping us, it will be his helping us. Then every single one of us, now this is changing the entire meaning. It should just be everyone, so even this is wrong. And so the correct answer is B. Everyone is the singular noun. And for a gerund, we use the possessive form of the noun, that is his. Here is another sample question. Neither the judge nor I am ready to announce who the winner is. Let's have a look at the options. So with neither, we are using nor. So nor is correct here. Over here, they're using I and or. So this is wrong. Neither does not go with or, goes with nor. Then neither the judge nor I told you it should be singular, so it should not be are, it should be I am ready. So let's have a look at the answer. Answer is A. There is no error in the original sentence. And this is the end of the sample sentences that we have discussed for subject verb agreement and pronoun agreement errors. The next step to do would be to study the errors in sentence correction that are based on diction, and that will be covered in the next video. Thank you for now.